electric aircraft, and it's developmental, so it's experimental. We got our worthiness certificate, so we've got basic review of all structures and systems and hazards and function, and the front of the plane's in the electric. Okay, so it's a great developmental plane for that purpose in case our developmental electric propulsion system gave us much issue. We got more than sufficient thrust from the back to allow Justin to make a quick landing and without too much drama. But electric propulsion system, there's an electric motor up in the front, and some electronics that support it. So this is set up right now. It'll do 160 horsepower at max, but we're probably going to run more like a 125, 130 typically when it's on. It's high voltage. It's as high as 700 volts when it's running, maybe a little more than that. And the energy comes out of a battery pack that we carry under this aeroshell underneath the aircraft. So this is carrying about 600 pounds worth of lithium-ion batteries.
Okay.
So these are lithium-ion batteries that are in production that run a variety of electric motorcycles. So they're production cells. They've been used in transportation many times, and they're inside this this aeroshell. So that's all installed. It's pretty hefty arrangement, but it's attached to the structure of the aircraft in a manner that's structurally sound. We do have a charger that we use to recharge the big battery pack. There's a fuel filler door outlet similar to what you'd find on a car.
Right.
There are contactors, so we don't run, the charger doesn't connect directly to the cells.
Okay.
We got contactors and fuses and a battery management system, unlike you'd see on consumer devices.
Right.
And those batteries you refer to are I think lithium cobalt. These are lithium nickel manganese type chemistry. It's a more stable chemistry used in vehicles, as I mentioned before. But there is, we monitor cell temperature 24 places.
Okay.
We make our controls to limit our ability to use it in flight or during charging based on those control temperatures. Control temperatures get too high, we give an indication of the cockpit. Go through yellow to red, we shut off. Shut off temperature is 68 degrees C. So the thermal runaway that you talk about, I mean, that kicks off at like 150, 130, something like that. We also have some thermal barrier in case for whatever reason there was a fire or a thermal event inside that pack. There's a barrier between the pack and the cockpit. So to give us a little more time and indication.
Sure.
And there's also a vent in the back of the aeroshell. So the pack is inside a metal, an aluminum container.
Big metal box. Looks like a big rectangular brick, and that's an aeroshell that just takes load.
Yeah.
So if you cut that, you'll see a big metal thing inside.
Gotcha.
So it kind of isolates it. And if it had an issue, the goal is to keep it to itself. That's basically in its box. And in addition, if there was a fire and there was smoke, there's a vent tube that takes us from inside that metal shell to outside the aeroshell. There's a small exhaust. I guess you can see it over there.
Yeah.
So you can see there's a 2.5 inch hole. There's some tubing that takes us into the battery pack where if there was any smoke generated, to allow the smoke to come out and keep the temperatures down a little bit, just to keep the pressure from ever building up in there. So that'd be one of our first indicators there's a problem. There's smoke coming out. That would be an indication.
At least for us, not being able, if we couldn't talk to you.
The pilot's got other
He's gonna
indication.
know.
He's going to know, but you'd see it from
Yeah.
here. You'd probably hear from him too
So-
through the tower. Go ahead, Russ.
We have an e-stop button up here, but this would likely already be hit by the time anyone from your team gets there. That will de-energize the entire system. But,
That's the red button there?
Yep, big red button. You just hit it. That will already be off. If there's any fault, it already does it automatically. And that will de-energize everything that is forward of this. So you'll see some you can't really see it, but you'll see some, big orange cables like you would see inside of a Tesla. Those go from here into the big inverter and into the motor. But all of those will be de-energized. The only place that will not be de-energized is the short path from the actual battery box below the aircraft to the battery management system box, which is sort of in the front here. So anything that's on the outside of the aircraft has no guarantee below of being. So you can safely cut any wires up here, but those, you know, because the switches that shut it off are here. So, you know, the battery will always be live up to those shut-off switches.
Fuel's in the wings?
Fuel's in the wings.
What's
And
the capacity?
60 gallons each side.
What else do we need to know?
What's the best firefighting method for lithium-ion? I think it's just sand and stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
Lots of water.
Ton of water, if
Ton of
possible.
water. You just want
I
to
mean, what they say manufacturer recommended medium or a ton of water.
Ton of water.
Basically, I think the consensus.
This arrow shell it's about a ½ inch thick.
quarter inch of fiberglass.
Yeah, it's super heavy and strong. So if there was an
Actually,
issue,
it's an 1/8 of an inch of fiberglass and the flanges of quarter. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty beefy.
Bottom hit somehow.
If the bottom hits somehow in a bad landing, then it'd probably be us to get water on it just to keep that. But underneath the shell is then an aluminum structure, also protecting those modules. And then the modules themselves are collections of cells inside another box. So there's kind of 3 layers of structure before you get to a crush event. So a lot of times in an automotive accident, we see batteries take off. It's because the batteries themselves, the cells have been crushed. A ton of water. That is the most effective method should we ever have an issue. Just taxiing out, whether we landed hard or we came in, with smoke. Every case, ton of water is the mitigation. And that's to get the heat out as fast as we can. It's going to burn. You can't get inside the chemistry and stop that reaction. But if you remove the heat, you can slow down. And you guys, this is your business, but you can slow down a chain reaction.
Yeah.
And if you guys end up having smaller problems that aren't quite as dramatic, again, the more information you can get to us to help us help you, the better. So like I said, through the pilot, through the ground support, trying to find us, and then we'll pass it on. Same thing to the guys at Station 50s. How long can you fly? Can we ask that? I don't know what you want to put out, so I'm okay with if you can.
Well, we could go for
Hours.
if
So-
necessary. We're not going to fly
So,
initially.
with the 2 engines, we use the electric and the internal combustion engine to get up, but we primarily cruise around on the rear. So, in that respect, you could fly as much as 120 gallons.
But your goal is to get it to where you're testing this, where you can get this to just be. That's where you're working towards, right?
Well,
Working towards a lot of goals.
A lot of goals. I'm more curious
we really
now.
want to
Right?
get the hours on the execution that we have here, and ultimately we want to make products and sell them. But that's a little further down the road, and it's going to be built on the knowledge we gain from testing and understanding.
How often do you think you guys will fly?
Probably every day,
Every good day.
weather permitting.
Every good day for the next several weeks.
Is your flight path pretty close to the airport, or are you guys going? Because you got the rear.
We got a test zone given to us,
Okay.
and it covers sort of here up to the coast and a little bit north, but most of the time we're going to be pretty darn close to the airport. Tank goes to the rear engine, the left tank goes to the front engine.
Okay.
But there's no of that. So we mostly have the fuel in this wing.
Okay.
And it's fuel selected to go to the back, and we don't typically change any of that during flight.
Okay.
Because we always keep that one on.
Okay.
It's this one, this one we can go to full power to idle, full power to idle.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter too much.
Okay.
So we always keep the back one on for safety and redundancy, and then if there was anything part of the procedure, we would
Just to switch off.
secure to
Okay.
off. And,
That was my question. So.
and,
Okay.
and turn off the master, hit the e-stop, turn off there.